Hey chaps, thank you for all the support on the last video. So I decided to jump into this script and I wrote this entire thing today. Yeah, it's a lot of words, so let's sit down and get ready for this. Now, this is probably my most favourite event chain for many reasons, and I'm sure you'll find it very entertaining. This is of course the Gas People event chain. Are you all sitting comfortably? Good. Now let us begin. We are first greeted by a strange signal from a gas giant planet. This is a rather strange place to be because, as we all know, you cannot colonize gas giants. Well, anyway, this giant is sending out some strange signals. The atmosphere of the giant itself has large pockets of radiation. The giant also has recently been the subject of some really intense orbital bombardment. Why someone would want to bombard a gas giant is completely unknown, but hey, whatever floats their boat. Now, most of this seems nothing out of the ordinary. However, once your science ship begins to leave, a weak signal is sent to the ship. If you choose to study this in detail, one of two things will occur. There is a chance that your science ship will fail the anomaly, in which case the signal fades and we will never learn its true origin. Of course, that's the boring side, and we would never end our journey here. So what happens if you succeed? What is this strange signal? Well, it turns out to be a transmission that we can filter through our budget translation software that was probably made in Scotland. So after translating the message, it reads as follows. Fuck England? Oh, wait, sorry. It was on the native Scottish speaking mode there for a second. Okay, the message actually says, "Finally, well met, Spacefarer. We are the Dafnak, and the planet you are orbiting is Tolok Rong, our ancestral homeworld. It is always riveting to meet a solid, even if our last encounter with your kind was somewhat problematic. You have no doubt detected the radiation surges coming from our atmosphere. Tolok Rong is dying, and our species will perish unless we find a new home. We've identified a planet that would suit our physiology, but we have no means to get there. Sadly, our non-corporeal nature means we don't have much in the way of industry or technology. Will you help us?" Now, this is a really interesting message, and it gives us a few hints as to their situation and the planet of Tolok Rong. The Dafnak are a gas species with no solid form. However, they have come into contact with solid species in the past, and we can ask them a few questions. The first being that if they don't have the technology, then how are they talking to us? The answer is simple. Another solid species has visited them almost 3 million years ago, and it gave them this small transmitter and translator as a gift. The Dafnak are very happy with this gift, but they say that this friendly interaction with solids is rather rare for them. Our next question we can ask them is what happened to their planet. It is in a dire situation after all, with all the holes and radiation, so what caused this? They tell us that a few thousand years ago they were visited by another race of solids who arrived and wanted the gas people to embrace their religion. However, when the Dafnak refused, it caused a more genocidal reaction, to say. The solids suddenly bombarded the planet with nuclear warheads, resulting in the worsening situation in which the gas people will eventually die out. We can then ask them how on earth we are meant to transport an entire species to another planet. They respond that there are actually not too many of them left after the bombardment. They also said that the radiation is spreading and that they will need to be moved soon or they will die. So our final two options are to either help them or leave them on the dying rock. If we choose the latter, they naturally get rather annoyed and say that all solids are the same and that we are all a plague on the galaxy. The Dafnak also promise that in the future there will be a reckoning. The age of solids will come to an end, and one day the time of gaseous life forms will come. This is quite a bold statement from a species that is about to die, but oh well. However, as a British person, I am naturally going to help them relocate. They are over the moon with this news and send us the coordinates of a wonderful new gas giant. However, of course, we do get told not to send our colonists and colonize the planet first. A slightly strange request considering that it is impossible for us to colonize it. Now, we need to hurry through this next part because if we are too slow in moving the gas people, then we reach a point when they cannot be saved and communications will no longer be possible. After this point, they have to retreat further and further into their planet's core until they are eventually eliminated as the planet is absorbed in radiation. We of course will not wait and shall transport them immediately. Our scientist organizes a vast civilian convoy equipped with pressurized gas chambers. We help transport them to their new home along with their transmitter. Upon arrival, the Daphnak send you a joyous message. We are forever in your debt. This planet has exceeded our expectations. For the first time in generations, our young can frolic in the upper atmosphere without starting to glow. We've decided to call our new home Baldorak after your species. Future generations of Daphnak shall always know the name of their saviors. What a lovely message from our new friends. However, they appear to have gotten our name slightly wrong, and if we ask them about it, they apologise, saying it's hard to remember when all the solids look exactly the same to them. Naturally, it's too late for them to change it, but they thank you nonetheless. For the next few years, we receive no word of the gas species until we receive a brand new message. Hello again, you'll be pleased to learn that our species has quadrupled in number since we arrived. Many of us were swept into a festive mood when we made planetfall, and things got a bit frisky to say the least. After the positive experience we had colonising Baldorak, a few of our brave pioneers have asked me to petition you for passage to another gas giant. We've already located a promising candidate within your space that would be suitable for colonisation. What do you say, friends? So their species has exploded since we last saw them, and they now want to colonise another planet, but this time it's in our own space. Okay, so this is getting a bit more threatening, but oh well, I can still live with that. So the same process occurs with a vast civilian convoy that is kitted out with pressure tanks filled with their colonists. After a brief trip they make planetfall and name the gas giant New Baldorak. We then assist in the construction of a large satellite to allow communication between Daphnak worlds. A few months later we receive our first message from our friends over in New Baldorak. One of their residents, Chapki Rad, who is a colonist on the planet, is asking to be given a lift back home to Baldorak. Of course we could refuse this, however we shall not, as this is only one singular gas being, so the operation takes place, this time only needing one civilian freighter to transport the colonist. We then deposit her into the atmosphere of Baldorak, returning her home. Now, remember the name Chapki Rad, because it will certainly come up later. Our next contact with any Daphnak occurs a few years later. We receive a direct message from Baldorak asking for help. It reads as follows. We bring alarming news, friends. Contact with our colony on New Baldorak has been lost. They no longer respond to any of our satellite transmissions. We fear the worst. Perhaps the aliens who bombarded our original homeworld have returned to finish the job. Send a ship to investigate. So the Daphnak fear the worst has occurred to their colony. However, they cannot check for themselves, so we must intervene and visit New Baldorak to discover the fate of the residents. Initial contact with New Baldorak shows nothing out of the ordinary. The gas giant shows no sign of any problems with their communication system at all. Everything seems fine. So naturally we send them a message, and we get an interesting response from the new controllers of the New Baldorak colony. Greetings from the New Baldorak Revolutionary Front. We have thrown off the yoke of oppression and are at last free from the tyranny of Baldorak. We have no quarrel with you, friend, as long as you refrain from aiding the Baldorak imperialists in their inevitable attempt to crush our revolution. You could help us take the fight to our enemies. However, would you be willing to deliver one of our commando units to Baldorak? We have three options here. We can ask them what their plan is, support them, or deny them any support at all. Their plan is very simple. They aim to drop off a commando unit into Baldorak and incite an uprising against the tyrannical elitists that currently hold the power. After that, they promise true freedom for all Daphnak. Sounds pretty nice. If we accept, then we can begin the mission, however we will cover that later. If you refuse to help, they say that the revolution will one day spread to your tyrannical empire, and soon after you receive another message from the Baldorak itself, the supposed tyrannical elite. I speak on behalf of the lawful Daphnak government on Baldorak. We've received a manifesto from the group that sees control of New Baldorak, and boy, what a bunch of hogwash. These brigands and anarchists are a terrible embarrassment to us, friend. Will you help us stomp out their little revolution before it spreads here and someone actually gets hurt? General Paltanak has prepared an expeditionary force to retake the colony, but we'll need your help transporting it there. Once again, we can either accept or decline this offer, so ladies and gentlemen, this is a real decision. Do we support the left or the right? For the sake of the story we shall cover both, however for now we shall start off with the left-wing revolutionaries of New Baldorak. With our support, we load up the elite commando unit into some cargo tugs and drop them off in Baldorak's atmosphere. Moments later, flashes of light representing violent clashes can be seen from above. Soon after, a message is sent out: the revolution has won, and the leaders now address the people. This is Citizen Fontanga. The people of Baldorak have overthrown the tyrants and oppressors that sought to enslave our species under their rule. A revolutionary council has been established to see our great nation through this transitional phase. While we will work diligently to restore the freedom to the people, we wish to thank our comrades for assistance in making this day come true. That is all. So, the leader of the revolution is called Fontanga, and he has set up a council to assist in the transition into a new phase. Interesting. This is very reminiscent of the revolution against the autocratic Tsar in Russia. Anyway, around 400 months later, Fontanga sends out another message for all to hear. This is Citizen Fontanga. The People's Revolutionary Council has unanimously voted to rename the planet formerly known as Baldorak to Fontangia in honor of my leadership. Also, the planet formerly known as New Baldorak shall henceforth be known as Chabkimak. Fucking hell, that's really hard to pronounce. After Chabki Rad, our Minister of Public Safety. That is all. Things have really been changed, so the leadership now has a planet named after him, similar to the Soviet Union's Leningrad. And of course our homesick passenger turned out to be a spy who has a planet now named after them. What will come next for the Dafnak? Well, around 400 months later, Fontanga sends out another message. This is Citizen Fontanga. The People's Revolutionary Council wishes to announce the impending execution of 4,539 individuals convicted of state treason and counter-revolutionary activities. Let this serve as a warning to all those who stand in the way of the glorious revolution. That is all. Another 400 months later, and we receive our final message from the Dafnak Revolution. This is Citizen Rutmag. The People's Revolutionary Council wishes to announce the impending executioner of former citizen Fontanga, who has been convicted of corruption and general incompetence. I'll be assuming all of his former duties. My first decree is that the original names of planet Fontangia and Chabkimak be restored. That is all. And with that, the revolution has finished and reached its final cycle. The revolution has committed a leadership purge and reached middle ground. Perhaps then, the Dafnak will find a peaceful future from this. Now onto the other side of the revolution. When we support the government on Baldorak, several of our freighters are filled with a military expeditionary force that we then drop off above the colony of New Baldorak. We then receive a message from the man in charge of the expeditionary force. General Paltanak here, speaking from New Baldorak. Operation Gaseous Fury has been a complete success. All primary objectives have been seized and the government control has been restored to all atmospheric sectors. Aside from a few holdouts, most rebel units have surrendered or been routed. Much obliged for the support, friends. If you'll excuse me, I need to transmit a casualty report to Baldorak. Paltanak out. 400 months later, General Paltanak sends out another message. General Paltanak here, acting military governor of New Baldorak. I'm pleased to announce the end of a major combat operation in Sector 47G. At least 512 insurgents have been confirmed killed since the operation began 2 cycles ago, while our own losses have been minimal. Extra commendations to all forces involved for keeping civilian casualties at an acceptable level. Paltanak out. Well, that message sounds like a few problems are occurring. The fact that civilian casualties are acceptable really does make you think about the Dafnak government. Anyway, we wait another 400 months and the general sends out another message that hints that things are not going so well. This is General Paltanak here, military governor of New Baldorak. I wish to address the unsubstantiated report claiming that there have been a resurgence in rebel activities on the world. Let me tell you now that nothing could be further from the truth. The planet has been fully pacified and all subversive terrorist elements have been fully rooted out. Its citizens are once again productive members of the greater Dafnak nation. Paltanak out. It sounds like things are going badly on the planet with the revolutionary rebels spreading. After another long wait, we receive our final message from the Dafnak nation. This time it's from someone new. Colonel Rapzak reporting, acting military governor of New Baldorak. I must regretfully inform you, the galactic community, of the demise of my predecessor, General Paltanak. After being lured into a dastardly ambush by rebel forces, the general gave his life in the finest tradition of the service. A state funeral with full honours will be held at the successful conclusion of our current offensive against the rebel strongholds. Rabzak out. This side of the story sets up an eternal revolution, with the colony likely never fully rejoining the Daphnak Empire and continually supporting the rebellion. So, what do you think about the story of the Daphnak? A race of gas clouds with progressive ideals aiming for a Marxist theory of evolutionary society. This story really makes links to our own history by almost copy and pasting the story of the Russian Revolution. However, I still have a few questions of my own that I fear will never get answered. If you chose to support the right, then will the army in control of New Balderek colony ever get reinforcements? They cannot move there of their own accord and would require our assistance, so logically the revolution could just perform a war of attrition against the expeditionary force. Oh well, this will likely never get answered. Now, this is probably the longest quest in Stellaris at the moment. Just writing about it has led to a script of at least 6 pages, so if you enjoyed this video, giving it a like would mean a lot to me. Feel free to share it around, as I've seen many questions on the Reddit about this event chain. Anyway, that's it for today, chaps. I hope to see you in the next one.